welcome back. So I thought I'd do a little video on kind of vaccines and visas and kind of all the information surrounding that, because I feel like that was something that I was really nervous about when I first started researching, because if you don't already know, I'm going backpacking this summer. So yeah, I thought I would go through how you kind of find the guidance for all this sort of stuff, because I found it a bit like there wasn't too much information out there about it, but that also might be because it is quite simple. But essentially for vaccines, you can get Hep A, typhoid, polio, tetanus, diphtheria and cholera, all from the NHS. I will say with this, make sure you give yourself enough time. I've had a couple of friends who haven't been able to get them through the NHS just because they don't have time before they go travelling or things like that, and it did, my one did take a little bit of time. Like I had to do an e-consult, then they sent me a travel document to fill out saying all the countries I'm visiting, and then they book you an appointment where they then go through what vaccines you need based off those countries, and they also recommend what ones to get that are paid for as well. And then yeah, luckily all the countries I'm going to don't actually require any specific ones, but there's like a lot of recommended ones. So yeah, I got Hep A, typhoid, polio, tetanus and diphtheria from the NHS, and I'm going to probably get cholera tablets as well before I go, just because there's some areas that are more high risk in certain areas. So you can look at, there's a map, I will put it on screen here for you. There's a map where you can see the regions that you're visiting and seeing what regions you might need, and when I went for my appointment I didn't know what regions we were visiting in those countries yet, so hence why I didn't get them. But yeah, I would recommend doing it fairly early. I did mine like 3 months before I went for the NHS ones, just to make sure that I had time, and yeah, it worked really well. And they were all really lovely, and they were really helpful with the paid ones as well. Then I actually got my paid ones from Boots, because if you get them in Boots you can use your Boots card, so you get your Boots points, and I used my Boots points towards some of my toiletries, which I thought was a really good idea. So for Boots I got my Hep B, I got my Japanese encephalitis, and I got my rabies. Rabies is one that people do and don't get. I wanted to get it just to be safe, but I will say all my vaccines cost around £600. So your Japanese encephalitis is around £109, and then your rabies is around 60, and so is Hep B. But Hep B you need 2, Japanese you need 2, and rabies you need 3. So I would say to actually put some money aside for that, because I probably wasn't prepared for how much they actually were going to cost. So yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise, but I'm really glad that I have got them all, because I think I'm just going to feel a lot safer. So with most of them, for most of them they'll make sure you're immune from it, but with rabies you still need to be careful when you're out there. It just gives you 48 hours instead of 24 hours to have your final vaccine. If you didn't have the 3 vaccines from the UK, you would need all of them whilst you're out there. So I think it's just a bit of a no-brainer for me. If I was to need treatment for rabies, it would just make it a lot easier, and also I think giving yourself longer is always a good idea, especially when you're doing excursions in countries where maybe there isn't as big hospitals. So yeah, that was definitely a factor in it, so definitely think about it. And you can speak to the GP or the people in Boots. They're really good. And again, when you've on Boots, you just fill out a form, which then takes you through all these steps. You list every country you're visiting, and then when you go to the meeting they will go through it with you and be like, what are you doing in those countries, and that will help them decide and advise you on what vaccines are right for you. The main website I used for travel vaccines was, I went on the government website, and then I would just type in, I literally typed in the country, like I typed in on Google, sorry, like vaccines required for Vietnam, and then I pull up the government website. This then it goes through loads of things, from like health to emergency medical numbers to medication, healthcare in Vietnam, and also your vaccines. They're also on all these websites, it links you to the NHS travel vaccines page, which has loads of guidance around vaccines, so I'd really recommend a read there. And then it also goes through on there what I've just said about what vaccines are free on the NHS. The best thing though is every government website that has the country that you're after will have a link to the Travel Health Pro, which is essentially a website that is linked from the government website, which will tell you vaccines that are recommended, vaccines that you require if you require certification for any of them, and then also some that you might not need but you might need if you're going to certain areas or you're doing certain experiences. So there's like an all travellers, certification requirements, and then most travellers. So yeah, that's really handy, and I really recommend using this website and just going through each country you're visiting and listing it through. Most of them are quite similar, so like basically all of them recommend Hep B and Hep A and things like that. Some of them recommend yellow fever, but it's not required for UK citizens. It's only required if you're travelling from certain countries, and I think that is one thing to check as well. If you're travelling from other countries into other countries, make sure that you then don't need vaccines because you've been in that country, because it'll be way easier to get them in the UK than it will be to get them out there. If you do need yellow fever, however, I will say you have to have it separately, so make sure you schedule enough time for that, because yellow fever is a live vaccine. So I don't know why I tapped my arm. So you want to make sure that you have enough time in between, because you can't get other vaccines at the same time, and also it might make you feel a little bit ill, so you want to leave some time for that. But yeah, so that website was what I found really handy for vaccines. Then for visas, again, I would literally just type in visa requirements for X country for UK citizens, and then it would pull up this government website, which I'll put on screen as well. And it literally would go through, if you have a British citizen passport, this is what you'd need, and it's based on the UK's current understanding of those countries. Based off the ones that I'm visiting, Vietnam, you need no visa for tourism travel for up to 45 days, which is amazing because we don't have to get a visa. Obviously this is currently as of 2025. Cambodia, you will require a visa, and you have to apply for this at least 4 days before arrival, and it's around $35, and this is valid for 30 days of travel. Indonesia, they also require one on arrival. It's around £23, and you must fill out a health pass online prior to departure of your previous country. And then Borneo, there's no visa required for 90 days of tourism, but you need to submit an arrival card within 3 days before your arrival. I think it's just gonna be handy to have these like notified in our calendars whilst we're away, so we get like the reminders, because otherwise we're so gonna forget, and obviously you don't want to be forgetting these sort of things. And then for Sri Lanka, you are required to have a tourist visa, and you need one for 30 days. Yeah, so that's only valid for 30 days as well. And you need to apply again a few days before arrival, and it's around $30 too. So none of these are like drastically expensive or difficult to apply for. That's one of the main, like, it makes you realise how privileged we are being from the UK and having a British citizenship, like how much we are actually able to travel between all these countries. Then for Australia, they actually now have a free tourist visa, and you have to apply for this before you go. I literally received mine within a day of applying, which is crazy. And you also need to complete an incoming passenger form, and that visa is valid for 3 months of travel in Australia. So yeah, that is all our visas. But that was like the two things I was really quite worried about, and like not worried, but like I wanted to know what I was doing around, and wanted to make sure I had everything before I went. So yeah, that is everything that I've researched about my vaccines and my visas, kind of VV, for going backpacking, and I hope that information is helpful for you if you are also going backpacking soon. Make sure you stay tuned for all the vlogs when I'm back from my travels, and also stay up to date on my Instagram and TikTok whilst I'm away, and I will see you really soon. And if you have any questions about backpacking that you'd like answered, drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer for you. Bye guys.